The title of this presentation is Concept of Environmental Health and Diseases. It's a presentation that is prepared for general studies students that are offering environmental health and diseases. It is aimed in assisting the student to be able to recall the important point discussed during the physical classroom lectures. Now, to begin with, we need to define an environment. Environment entails anything that surrounds a living thing. So it encompasses all the categories of things that are found in the ecosystem that interact together with the living organisms. These things include air, water, plant, animals. Now, all these components of the environment, in one way or the other, during the interaction with the living things, affect the living things either positively or negatively. Now, in the case of health, health refers to the total or complete well-being of an individual. It can be from the socio-economic perspective. It can be from disease perspective. Any form of well-being of an individual is referred to as health. Now, another aspect is diseases. Disease originates, the root of the word disease originates from two distinct words. The prefix, which is dis, dis, and the suffix, which is is, that is dis-ease. So when a person has disease, we can say this person is in a state of dis-ease. Therefore, we can define diseases as an abnormal condition of an organism that impairs the functions of the whole or part of the body. In other words, we can say disease is a condition that diminishes the health of an individual. Remember, we say health is the total or complete well-being of an individual. So disease is any abnormal condition, any condition that diminishes the health, affects the functions, the normal functions of the body, is referred to as diseases. Now, diseases are broadly divided into two major categories. We have the communicable diseases. Communicable diseases are otherwise referred to as transmittable diseases. These are generally diseases that can be transmitted from one individual to another, either from humans to humans or from animals to humans or vice versa. We have the non-communicable diseases. Non-communicable diseases, on the other hand, are a group of diseases that cannot be transmitted from one person to another. That is, they are not transmittable. That is why they are called non-communicable. So looking at the communicable, they are diseases that can easily be transmitted through contact with the infected person. If a healthy person is in contact with the infected person, the healthy person can easily acquire the diseases. And because of this, communicable diseases are otherwise called contagious diseases because they can be spread from one person to another through contact. In addition, these communicable diseases are caused by pathogens. Pathogens are a group of living things that have the capability to cause diseases on other living things. Living things that can either uh, enters the body of other living things and cause diseases, or living things that can cause diseases on the skin of other living things. All these are referred to as pathogens. And because communicable diseases are caused by pathogens, it is sometimes referred to as pathogenic diseases. Another word that is used to describe communicable diseases is infectious diseases. It is also referred to as infectious diseases. Infectious diseases are diseases as a result of entry of pathogen into the body. Presence of pathogen into the body is called infection. And that is why communicable diseases being caused due to the presence of pathogen in the body, interaction of the pathogen with the body, which is referred to as infection. The diseases are also referred to as infectious diseases. Now, all these are categories of names we can use to describe communicable diseases. On the other hand, non-communicable diseases cannot be acquired based on body contact. Therefore, it is not contagious. It is not caused as a result of infection. It's not infectious, and it is not caused by pathogen. Therefore, it's non-pathogenic. Now, all these diseases, communicable diseases or non-communicable diseases, can occur in two forms. They can occur in short term, that is acute. So communicable diseases can be acute. Acute diseases are diseases that occur within short period of time in which either the individual survive or recover, or the individual die as a result of the diseases. Example of acute communicable diseases include typhoid fever, measles, pneumonia, Ebola, coronavirus diseases, cholera, malaria. All these ones are diseases that can occur within short period of time. They are all caused by pathogen, and therefore they are under communicable or pathogenic diseases, and they can occur within short period of time in which either the patient survived, recover, or maybe the patient died as a result of the diseases. Now we have another form of communicable diseases which occur, which has a long-term duration, not short-term duration. So all diseases that take place within long term, that requires long-term periods, that stay for a long period of time, are referred to as chronic diseases. Example of communicable chronic communicable diseases include tuberculosis. You see, tuberculosis can stay in the body for several months, several years, and so on. Acquired immune deficiency syndrome, AIDS, is another example of chronic communicable diseases. We have syphilis, rheumatic fever, herpes, and polio diseases. All these are examples of long-term communicable diseases. Now, just as we have acute communicable diseases and chronic communicable diseases. We also have the same terminologies in the case of non-communicable diseases. So we have acute non-communicable diseases, diseases that occur within short period of time and they are not caused by pathogen. Example of acute non-communicable diseases include appendicitis, poisoning, trauma, maybe due to accident, and so on. We also have chronic, long-term, non-communicable diseases. These categories include diabetes, hypertension, coronary heart diseases, osteoarthritis. Now, all these diseases, we are going to see them along the our discussion in this particular course. So now let's look at the modes of occurrence of communicable diseases. We want to start with communicable diseases and discuss it in details. Then we take the non-communicable diseases. Now, communicable diseases can occur. It can occur in several ways. That is, occurrence of the communicable diseases. It can be sporadic communicable diseases. Sporadic communicable diseases are diseases that affect only one person. They generally affect only maybe one person or few persons or animal in the environment within a short period of time. So it occurs just once in a while. So all diseases that occurs once in a while affecting only few individuals are referred to as sporadic diseases. Then the next one is endemic communicable diseases. Endemic communicable diseases are communicable diseases that have repeated occurrence, in which the disease occurs repeatedly in a particular locality, maybe within a radius of 30 miles, affecting many individuals. So this type of occurrence of diseases that occur repeatedly is called endemic. That means we can have a case of sporadic disease, sporadic just once in a while. But when a disease repeatedly occurs in an environment, it is referred to as endemic diseases. Now we have the next one, which is epidemic diseases. Epidemic diseases, epidemic is a type of disease occurrence in which the disease affects large number of peoples in a short period of time in a particular area, which is usually larger than the endemic. Example, maybe a disease that can affect the entire state or country. This type of disease may affect both humans and other animals within the environment. Now, another form of occurrence of communicable diseases is pandemic. Pandemic occurrence is much larger than the epidemic occurrence. Pandemic communicable diseases are diseases that spread rapidly over a very large area and affecting many people within a short period of time, maybe affecting several states and countries. A good example of pandemic diseases is coronaviral diseases, which spread, almost affecting all countries in the world. Now, these are forms in which communicable diseases occur in our environment: sporadic, endemic, epidemic, or pandemic. Now, having said this, let us look at the mode of transmission of communicable diseases. Since we said communicable diseases are transmitted from one person to another, it is important to understand the transmission, how the diseases are transmitted. That is the common modes of transmission of communicable diseases. Now, there are generally two types of transmission mechanism for communicable diseases. The first one is direct transmission. Direct transmission involves immediate transfer of the disease agent through direct contact between the infected and healthy susceptible individual. So this type of diseases usually occur through maybe mutual contact. Example: touching, biting, kissing, sexual intercourse, etc. It can also occur through direct projection from infected person to non-infected person within just a distance of not more than 1 meter. Example of these diseases that can be transmitted through direct projection include coughing or sneezing. So all these ones are diseases that can be transmitted through direct projection. Now, generally, diseases transmitted through contact can be either mutual or through direct projection. We can have the AIDS, which is transmitted through sexual contact, syphilis, also sexual contact, gonorrhea, sexual contact, or common cold, which can be transmitted through direct projection of the pathogen from infected person to non-infected person. Now we have another type of transmission mode for communicable diseases is indirect transmission. Indirect transmission involves acquiring the pathogen from the environment, not due to close contact with the infected person. That means the pathogen is from the environment. There is no close contact, no mutual contact or direct projection from infected person to another person. That means a certain element in the environment help to transmit the diseases from the infected person to the uninfected person. So these diseases this type of indirect transmission can occur in several ways. It can be airborne, in which the pathogen are transmitted through dust, wind carrying dust which contains the pathogen. A good example is tuberculosis. Somebody having tuberculosis may discharge the sputum in the environment, and then when it mixes with the dust, dried, become dust. The wind can carry the microorganism from the dust and spread it to the non-infected persons in the environment. Another example is influenza. Now, another type of indirect transmission is a transmission that can occur through consumption of contaminated food or water. That is food or water-borne transmission of diseases. Example of these diseases that can be transmitted from contaminated food include cholera, typhoid, polio. All this we are going to see much details on these diseases. Another type of indirect transmission is vehicle-borne transmission. Vehicle-borne transmission involves transmission of the pathogen by contaminated non-living materials in the environment. This includes maybe toys used by children, handkerchiefs, soil clothes, beddings, utensils, surgical devices, and so on. So all these are referred to as vehicle-borne transmission mechanism. Example is tetanus, which can be transmitted from contaminated metal in the environment to the infected person. Hepatitis is also example of vehicle-borne transmission, which can be transmitted maybe through contaminated blood products from infected person to non-infected person. Now, another type of indirect transmission is vector-borne or insect-borne transmission of diseases. Insect-borne transmission of diseases is a type of disease transmission in which the organisms, the pathogens are transmitted from infected person to the healthy person through bare insects, maybe through insect bites. A good example of these diseases include malaria, which can be transmitted through the bite of mosquito. When a mosquito bites an infected person with the malarial parasite, the parasite can be transmitted to an infected person when the mosquito bites that person. We have the Lyme disease that is transmitted through tick, dengue fever transmitted through mosquito bite also. We also have diseases such as yellow fever and so on. So in general, direct transmission of diseases has to be directly from infected person to non-infected person based on close contact, while in the case of indirect, the diseases are transmitted through a medium. Environment serves as the element in the environment serve as a medium for transmitting the diseases from infected person to the non-infected person. Now, let us look at the common examples of pathogens that cause communicable diseases. Generally, communicable diseases is commonly caused by bacteria, viruses, fungi, protozoa in our environment, which we will see the details of them. Now we are going to look at the first category, which is bacteria. Now, bacteria, the singular form is bacterium. Bacteria are generally found in almost all environments. They are disease-causing agents, although most of them are harmless, but we have pathogenic ones among them. Generally, bacteria exist in many shapes, such as spherical shapes or coccus, rod shape or bacillus, comma shape or vibrio, spring shape or spirillum, and so on. So they exist in various shapes. Bacteria generally cause diseases in two ways, either by multiplying within the body and actively destroying the body tissues, or by producing a toxin which has the capability to cause diseases in the body. Now let's look at some of the common bacterial diseases in our environment. The first one here is cholera. Cholera is one of the most common bacterial diseases in the environment that affects the gastrointestinal tract, and it is characterized by intense vomiting, diarrhea, anorexia, body weakness, abdominal cramps, and pain. It is generally caused by a comma-shaped bacteria which is called Vibrio cholerae. As we mentioned in the bacterial shape, the comma-shaped bacteria are called Vibrio. So Vibrio cholerae is a bacteria that is named based on its shape and the disease it causes. Generally, many bacterial names are either based on their shape, morphology, or based on the disease they cause, or based on the persons that discover them, or based on their physiological or metabolic appearance, and so on. Now, this type of bacteria is named based on its shape. It has a comma shape, and this bacteria generally produce a toxin. It produces a toxin which is called the cholera toxin that damage the intestinal lumen, causing massive flow of water and ions into the intestinal tract. So it causes a reverse flow of fluid from the body into the intestinal tract. Instead of body fluid, water from the gastrointestinal tract to be absorbed into the body together with the soluble food materials, in the case of cholera, the reverse happens, in which the toxin destroys the intestinal lining, leading to the backflow of the fluid from the blood from the body into the intestinal tract, and therefore this backflow leads to nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. Therefore, transmission of this particular bacteria generally occur through food or water that is contaminated by the feces or vomit of the infected person. In other words, we can say that the bacteria is transmitted from the fecal matter to the mouth, fecal oral transmission route. Generally, in the case of the cholera infection, the individuals may either survive or die within 24 hours as a result of dehydration of the body fluid. Now, the second example of common bacterial diseases in the environment is typhoid. So typhoid is a bacterial disease that is commonly caused by a bacteria known as Salmonella typhi. Now, in this case, this bacteria is named based on the discoverer, the person that first describes the organism, that first discovers the organism, which is Solomon. So the first name of the bacteria was derived from this person, Salmonella, and then the second name was derived from the disease it caused. So Salmonella typhi. Now, this bacteria also affect the gastrointestinal tract, just like the Vibrio cholerae, but the mechanism is different from that of cholera. The bacteria generally multiply in the gastrointestinal tract. In the case of cholera, cholera produces toxin that causes the damage, while in the case of Salmonella typhi, it is the bacteria that actively multiply in the gastrointestinal tract and causes the damage. So when it multiplies, it leads to inflammation of the gastrointestinal tract, which is characterized by continuous fever, nausea, and frequent vomiting, which in severe case can lead to death. Other symptoms of the disease may include mental dullness, slight deafness, enlargement of the spleen, appearance of rose spots on the trunk, and constipation, which is more common than in cases of real diarrhea. This particular disease occurs worldwide and is a disease that is primarily transmitted through food or water. Since the bacteria multiply in the gastrointestinal tract, it is generally discharged together with the stool of infected person. So from the stool of infected person, the bacteria can be transmitted when bear food or water that is contaminated by the stool of the infected person. Maybe after defecating, the stool may be washed by rainwater into the nearby river, and if such water is used for watering vegetables, vegetables become contaminated. The bacteria can be transmitted through the vegetables, and it can also be transmitted through other foods that have been contaminated, either directly or indirectly by the feces of the infected person. Now, the next example of bacterial disease in the environment is tetanus. Now, tetanus is a disease that is caused by an anaerobic soil bacteria, which is called Clostridium tetani. Clostridium tetani is mostly associated with corroded metals in the soil, and therefore it is transmitted through direct injection of the contaminated metal into the body. So whenever the contaminated metal accidentally is accidentally injected into the body, the transmission of the disease will occur. This particular bacteria cause diseases through toxin production. It produces a toxin which is called the tetanus toxin. This toxin exerts its effect on the central nervous system. It attacks and causes abnormal stimulation of brain, which leads to stiffness of the back and neck, lockjaw, difficulty in breathing, and so many a stimulative effect from the brain. The individual may die as a result of insufficient oxygen in a case referred to as asphyxiation. That is when the oxygen insufficient oxygen. Now, the next type of diseases, bacterial diseases, is meningitis. Meningitis is also one of the common bacterial diseases, which is commonly caused by bacteria referred to as Neisseria meningitidis. This bacteria is named based on its discoverer, Mr. Neisser, and the disease it caused, which is meningitis. So the bacteria is named based on discoverer and the diseases it causes. Neisseria meningitis is generally transmitted through respiratory droplets. It is generally discharged from the infected person through respiratory droplet, coughing, sneezing, and so on. So when the bacteria, when a healthy person inhale this droplet from the air, the bacteria penetrate the epithelial lining of the upper respiratory tract, nasopharynx, and finally enters into the bloodstream, where it rapidly multiplies, causing fever and general body weakness. If untreated, the pathogen can cross the blood-brain barrier, and then from there it can infect the membrane covering the brain, which is meninges, leading to acute inflammatory response that result in what is called meningitis. In this case, the initial fever and body weakness can rapidly evolve into severe headache, rigid neck, vomiting, and sensitivity to bright light. When the symptoms progress, coma can occur within few hours. Now, the next bacterial diseases, which is also common in the environment, is tuberculosis. Tuberculosis is a respiratory disease which is commonly caused by Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Mycobacterium tuberculosis is also transmitted via infected respiratory droplet, just like meningitis. And once into the respiratory system, the organism destroys the lower respiratory system, the lungs, the lung tissue, leading to high fever, headache, general body weakness, and continuous chronic cough and discharge of blood-stained sputum. So these are some examples of bacterial diseases in the environment. Now we have so many other examples of bacterial diseases in our environment, which include gonorrhea, that is caused by Neisseria gonorrhoeae. We have pneumonia, which is commonly caused by Streptococcus pneumoniae. We have urinary tract infection that is commonly caused by Escherichia coli. We have the anthrax, which is a disease that is caused by Bacillus anthracis. We have diseases such as the boils, impetigo, whitlow, blood poisoning, endocarditis, which are commonly caused by a bacteria called Staphylococcus aureus. Uh, we have other diseases such as cervicitis, endometritis, epididymitis, inclusion conjunctivitis of newborn or adult, infant pneumonia, uh, urethritis, proctitis, salpingitis, which are caused by chlamydia trachomatis. We have other diseases, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, and many other diseases which are caused by bacteria in our environment. So next example we would like to take is the next agent, the viruses. After bacteria, the next common pathogenic agent in the environment are viruses. Viruses, or the singular virus, are also found in almost all environments. They are generally the smallest obligate intracellular infectious particles. They are viruses are the most smallest among all the common pathogens. They are the smallest one. They are obligate intracellular parasites. That is, they always require the body of other living things. They always multiply within the body of other living things. They require other living things in order to reproduce. They cannot reproduce on their own. Unlike bacteria, bacteria can reproduce on their own, but viruses are incapable of reproducing on their own. That is why they are referred to as obligate intracellular infectious agent, and they are generally made up of a nucleic acid that is surrounded by a protein coat which is called capsid, either plus another layer of surrounding the protein which is called envelope, or in the case of some viruses, the envelope may be absent. So they have the simplest structure, they have the smallest and simplest structure among all pathogens. They carry only one nucleic acid, either DNA or RNA, which in contrast to bacteria carries both DNA and RNA. Now, viruses do not produce toxins. They generally cause diseases by multiplying within and then actively destroying body tissues. Now let's look at some of the examples of viral diseases that are common in our environment. The first one is hepatitis. Hepatitis, just as the name implies, hepa means liver, itis means swelling or inflammation. So hepatitis technically means inflammation of the liver. So hepatitis is generally an infection of the liver that is commonly caused by 5 different viruses, which include hepatitis A virus, hepatitis B virus, C, D, E, and G viruses. Out of this, hepatitis B is the most common and produce one of the most severe case of hepatitis, and is the most common in our environment. Now, in the case of their transmission, hepatitis B, hepatitis C, and hepatitis D viruses are transmitted through blood, from blood of infected person to non-infected person, either through contaminated needles. They can also be transmitted through sexual contact. The remaining two, hepatitis A and hepatitis E viruses, are transmitted through contaminated the pieces of infected person. That is, their transmission is fecal oral from pieces of infected person to food or water. Then after ingesting the contaminated food or water, the virus becomes transmitted to the healthy person. Now, in any case, these viruses love protein, and therefore their target organ in the body is liver. Immediately they get into the body, in the case of hepatitis A and E, they first multiply in the intestine, and then finally get into the bloodstream to reach the liver, where they actively multiply and aggressively destroy liver cells, leading to the inflammation or hepatitis. In the case of the other hepatitis, they multiply in the blood. That is why they are commonly transmitted via blood. They multiply in the blood and other body fluids, and once they reach liver, they destroy liver cells, leading to hepatitis. Therefore, sudden death can occur as a result of compromising the liver function, because this viruses destroys the liver, and liver play an important role. It play many important roles in the body. So the infected person can easily die when the liver functions are compromised. Now, the symptoms and severity of hepatitis depend on the type of viruses, but generally the growth of the virus first result in systemic symptoms, which are much like the flu, with fatigue, low-grade fever, muscle and joint pain, cough, runny nose, and pharyngitis. And 1 to 2 weeks later, the patient may develop jaundice when the virus start destroying the liver cells. The patient may develop jaundice as a result because the level of bilirubin, which is normally cleared by the liver, rises in the body as a result of compromising the liver function. So when the virus continues to grow in the liver cells hepatocyte, most of the liver cells become necrosed, they die, and finally the infected person may die when the liver functions are compromised. Now, the next type of viral diseases, which is common in the environment, is Ebola viral diseases, EVD. Ebola viral diseases is a type of viral diseases that is caused by a virus called Ebola virus. This is a virus that is found in fruit bats belonging to the family Theropodidae. These bats were believed to transmit the viruses to monkeys. So the virus was first transmitted from monkeys to humans in the history in 1976, around 1976, leading to 2 simultaneous outbreaks in Inzra in Sudan, and another place, Yankubu village, which is near the Ebola river. And that is where the virus got its name, Ebola. It is named based on the first outbreaks that occur near the Ebola river. Transmission of Ebola in humans is through direct or indirect contact with environment contaminated with the fluid, or hospital staff and mourners when they have direct contact with the corpse, maybe during the burial. However, once the virus gets into the body, the virus multiplies in the immune cells, making it multiplies and destroys the immune cells, making the immune system deficient. And in addition, it stimulates the release of certain chemotactic factors. These chemotactic factors create force in the blood capillaries in all the body parts, such as the eyes, the ears, the mouth, the stomach, and this leads to both internal and external bleeding in the infected person. You'll see blood coming out from the mouth, from the ears of the infected person, which result in multiple days of many body cells due to lack of nutrient and oxygen supply by the blood. So, and this will further cause failure of most of the vital organs of the body. As many and more body cells are dying, vital organs in the body will begin to fail, such as the brain, the liver, kidney, the heart, the lungs, and many other vital organs in the body, which will finally lead to death. So major symptoms of Ebola include sudden onset of high fever, headache, vomiting, diarrhea, chest and stomach pain, difficulty in breathing, hiccups, sore throat, red eyes, intense body weakness, hemorrhage, coma, and finally death. Now, the next type of common viral disease in the environment is the acquired immune deficiency syndrome. This is a general name referred to as diseases that occur as a result of the deficiency in the immune system. The immune system has become deficient, and as a result, multiple syndromes occurs in the body. That is why the disease is called acquired immune deficiency syndrome. This particular disease is generally caused by a retrovirus. That is why sometimes the disease is called retroviral diseases, RVDs. Retroviral diseases. This virus is called the human immune deficiency virus. It is called human immune deficiency virus because it makes the immune system deficient, incapable of fighting disease-causing agents. Now, this virus is transmitted through direct or indirect contact of body fluids from infected person. Examples: vaginal fluid, seminal fluid, and blood from the infected person to the non-infected person, maybe through unprotected sex, sharing sharp objects, and blood products. So once into the body, the virus deceives the immune system, and it multiplies within the immune cells and actively destroy the cells, the immune cells, thereby weakening the immune system of the body, making the immune system deficient or incapable of fighting diseases, as a result of which many diseases which could have been prevented by the immune system will now accumulate in the body and exert multiple effect, which is called the multiple effect or syndrome. That is, just as the name implies, acquired immune deficiency syndrome. So leading to multiple effect in the body, which finally may lead to the death of the patient if untreated. So it's not actually the virus killing the patient, but by weakening the immune system, other diseases can lead to the death of the patient. Now, the next common viral disease in the environment is polio viral diseases. Polio viral diseases is a disease that is caused by a virus known as the polio virus, which is a virus that is also that multiply in the gastrointestinal tract, and therefore it is excreted with the feces of infected person, and therefore the disease is transmitted through ingestion of food or water contaminated by the feces of an infected person. Now, once ingested, the virus multiplies in the mucosa of the throat. As it multiplies in the mucosa of the throat or and small intestine, it causes brief illness characterized by fever, headache, sore throat, vomiting, and loss of appetite. So after the brief illness, the virus may enter the bloodstream to reach the brain, where it rapidly multiply and destroy the brain cells, leading to motor and muscular paralysis, which is otherwise called paralytic polio, that is characterized by withered legs, hands, and some other part of the body. Now, the next type of common viral diseases in our environment is the yellow fever. Yellow fever viral disease. Yellow fever is caused by yellow fever virus, which is a virus that is transmitted through mosquito bites, transmitted through the bite of Aedes mosquito. So generally, the Aedes mosquitoes transmit the virus either to humans or monkeys through the mosquito bite. After biting the infected person, the virus can be transmitted to the healthy person. So once the virus gets into the body, the virus spread and multiply in various organs such as liver, spleen, kidneys, and heart, where it can persist for many days, leading to abrupt onset of fever, frustration, headache, sensitivity to light, low back pain, extremity pain, epigastric pain, anorexia, vomiting, and so many other symptoms. The illness can lead to both liver and renal failure. It can also produce hemorrhagic symptoms uh, uh, that can lead to thrombocytopenia, in which the patient will have abnormal blood coagulation, which can finally lead to death of the patient. So these are some common viral diseases in the environment. Now we'll briefly look at some of the other examples of viral diseases. We have the tick-borne encephalitis, which is a viral infection of the central nervous system that is caused by tick-borne. Is transmitted. The virus is transmitted by tick, leading to long-lasting permanent neuropsychiatric. We have the measles disease, which is caused by measles virus, which is a contagious skin disease. We also have chickenpox disease. Chickenpox, shingles, all these ones are also highly contagious skin diseases, which are caused by the chickenpox virus. We have influenza disease, which is caused by influenza virus, which is a respiratory disease. Another example is smallpox or variola diseases, which is a highly contagious illness that is characterized by high fever and rashes, which is called by the smallpox virus or orthopox virus. We have cold sores or fever blisters, which are caused by the herpes simplex virus type 1, Lassa fever, which is caused by an RNA virus from the family of Arenaviridae. We have rabies, which is another viral infection common in the environment that is transmitted through bites from dogs, monkeys, and so on. Now, having said much on the viruses, let us look at the fungal diseases. Fungi, singular fungus, are also found in almost all environments. They are generally larger than bacteria, and they exist in unicellular form called yeast or multicellular form called mold. Now, just like bacteria, fungi also cause diseases in two ways, either by means of infection, in which the fungi colonize the body tissues, destroy some body tissues leading to the disease, or by producing toxigenesis, toxin production, in which the toxin result in the disease causation. Fungal diseases, in general terms, the fungal diseases are called mycosis, singular mycosis, and while the diseases as a result of the fungal toxins are called mycotoxicosis. Fungal diseases are generally categorized based on the site of the body they affect. However, the most common ones affect the skin diseases. So we have the first category, which is the superficial mycosis. Superficial mycosis are generally fungal diseases that affect the uppermost layer of the skin. In this case, the disease does not affect the sensitive, the sensory, it does not go deep, affecting the sensory part of the skin, and therefore it does not produce, it is not accompanied by pain or any other disturbing symptoms in the body. However, the fungi generally colonize the skin surface, destroy the skin pigment, leading to formation of many colored patches on the skin. Example of this is pityriasis versicolor or tinea versicolor, which is a fungal disease that is caused by a fungi called Malassezia furfur. This fungi produce multicolored patches on the skin, especially on the trunk. Produce a lot of multicolored patches on the skin and trunk. Another example is Tinea nigra. Tinea nigra, as the name implies, nigra, black, is a fungal infection, superficial infection or superficial mycosis that causes dark to brownish painless patches on the soles of the hands and feet. So this particular infection is also is caused by fungi known as Exophiala warnecki. Both infections are called tinea because the appearance resembles that of ringworm, circular appearance. Hence, they are called tinea. Now, the second fungal infection, which also affects the skin, is called cutaneous mycosis. Cutaneous mycosis is a type of fungal diseases, which is also called dermatophytosis. It's a type of fungal diseases, fungal infection that affect the layer beneath the uppermost layer of the skin, beneath the superficial layer. That is a fungal infection that affects the dermal layer of the skin. And it is caused by a group of fungi known as dermatophytes, fungi that attack the dermal layer of the skin. They were named based on the site of the infection. Now, generally, these fungi produce enzyme called keratinase enzyme, which digests or break down the protein of the hair, nails, and skin, that is keratin protein. This will result in scaling of the skin, loss of hairs, and crumbling of the nails. Examples. Example is tinea. Generally, these diseases are also called tinea because they have the ringworm appearance, and it can affect various parts of the body. So we can have tinea affecting the body parts, which we can have tinea affecting the genitals, groin and scrotum. We can have cutaneous infection of the foot, of the head, of the beard, of the finger, of the nails. So the fungal infection of the body or tinea of the body is called tinea corporis. Tinea cruris is the one affecting the genital tract. We have the tinea pedis, which affect the legs or foot. We have the tinea capitis, which affect the head. We have tinea barbae affecting the beard, and tinea anguium, which affect the fingernails. Now, the next type of fungal infection is subcutaneous mycosis. This one is a type of fungal infection that is deeper than the cutaneous mycosis. It affects the tissues below the cutaneous layer of the skin. So this usually affects the innermost layer of the skin. And therefore, the transmission of fungi is through direct injection of the fungi from the environment into the body of the infected person. Examples of this fungi are Sporotrix janki, Pialophora, and Cladosporium species. These fungi destroy the subcutaneous layer, leading to formation of necrotic and ulcerated nodules in the legs, in the arms, and so on. Now, the next type of fungal infection is a fungal infection that occur within the body organs, within the body system, and therefore it is called systemic mycosis. This fungal infection is commonly caused by fungi such as Histoplasma capsulatum, Blastomyces dermatitidis, Coccidioid immitis. All these fungi affect various organs of the body, leading to several symptoms such as pneumonia, meningitis, cancer, and so many other diseases. Now, the last type of fungal infection that is common in the environment is opportunistic mycosis. Opportunistic mycosis are generally fungal infections as a result of low immunity. So they are fungal infections that can only occur in individuals with a lower immune system, such as a neonate, extreme age, old people's neonate, women with pregnancy, and so on. So an example of this is candidiasis, which is commonly caused by Candida albicans, which is a yeast fungi that leads to the formation of nappy rashes, candidal pneumonia, bulbovaginal candidiasis, which is characterized by discomfort, itching, reddening of the vulva and vagina with the production of whitish discharge, oral. We have also oral thrush and so many other opportunistic mycosis. Now, having said a lot on the communicable diseases, let us quickly look at the non-communicable diseases. The non-communicable diseases, as we defined them initially, they are diseases not caused by pathogens, but diseases as a result of other environmental or genetic factors. And therefore, based on their causes or origin, non-communicable diseases are categorized into three major categories. We have non-communicable diseases that are caused by genetic as a result of genetic, and they are called genetically acquired non-communicable diseases. We have non-communicable diseases that are acquired based on certain behaviors, nutritional behaviors, smoking, and other behaviors. These ones are called behaviorally acquired non-communicable diseases. And we also have environmentally acquired non-communicable diseases. Now, looking at taking the first one, the genetically acquired non-communicable diseases. These are generally diseases that are caused by an abnormality in an individual's genome. Whenever there is an abnormality in the individual genome, a genetic disease can result. Remember, the genes control, they are responsible for, they bear the characters of individuals, as well as the appearance of the organs and their functions and so on. So if those genes are affected, the functions of those organs becomes affected. Now, because these diseases are as a result of genetic abnormality in the genetic makeup, these diseases are transmitted, they can be transmitted from parent to their offspring. This disease, the genetic disorder may be monogenetic, in which single gene is affected, leading to diseases, abnormality in a single gene. Example of such diseases that are monogenetic include cystic fibrosis, sickle cell anemia, Marfan syndrome, Huntington's disease, hemochromatosis, and so on. They can also be multifactorial. Multifactorial in the sense that many genes are involved, many genes become affected, leading to some disorders such as heart diseases, high blood pressure, Alzheimer's disease, arthritis, diabetes, cancer, and obesity. So in short, these are some of the examples of genetically acquired non-communicable diseases. Now we have the behaviorally acquired non-communicable diseases. These are generally diseases that result from some risky behaviors and maybe an poor socioeconomic status of the individuals in the environment. Common cause of these diseases include alcoholism. Alcoholism, can result in several diseases such as liver cirrhosis, hardening of the liver cells, liver cancer, and cancers in the other body tissues. And we also have another cause of behaviorally acquired non-communicable disease is smoking. Smoking generally can lead to several respiratory problems. It can also lead to high blood pressure, heart diseases, stroke, asthma, cough, and cancer. We also have the case of drug abuse. Which in most cases, some of these drugs, they harm the central nervous system and brain, leading to several stimulatory effects. Now, another type of behaviorally acquired non-communicable disease is related to the poor socioeconomic status of the individual. That is deficiency, malnutrition, deficiency diseases. Diseases as a result of malnutrition. So in general, malnutrition or malnourishment is a condition that results from eating diets in which nutrients are either not enough or are too much, such that the diet causes health problem. Some of the diseases as a result of malnutrition can be marasmus or otherwise called succinus. Marasmus is a disease as a result of protein energy malnutrition, which generally leads to lean and thin limbs, but swollen belly, wrinkled face, shrunken eyes, loss of immunity power, frequent diarrhea, loss of appetite, and so on. Another example is Kwashiorkor, which is also called Tetanus. This one is another deficiency disease, which is also as a result of deficiency of protein, leading to cracking of the skin, descaling, loss of appetite, vomiting, weakness, and also loss of immune power, frequent diarrhea. It can also result in wrinkled skin, hip and leg. It can result in retardation of the physical growth and underweight of age and possibly swelling of the joint. Another example is anemia. Anemia is insufficient red blood cells in the body. Anemia can result due to deficiency of iron and vitamins, leading to frequent weeping, lack of feeling of tiredness, loss of appetite, headache, feeling of dizziness, and so many symptoms associated with insufficient blood. Now, another example is light blindness, which can be as a result of deficiency in vitamin A. We can also have a case of scurvy, which is a disease due to deficiency of vitamin C, leading to the swelling and bleeding of the gums. The teeth may fall due to softness of the gum. Loss of appetite may result. Anemia can also result. Irritation and general weakness of the body may occur in the case of scurvy. Another example we can give is rickets. Rickets is also a deficiency disease which occurs as a result of deficiency of vitamin D, which result in curved legs, pigeon chest, swelling in the wrists and ankles, delay in the physical growth, enlarged and elongated head, and so many other symptoms of poor growth and development. Now, let's look at the last category, which are the environmentally acquired non-communicable diseases. These are generally diseases due to the effect of some physical agents, physical activities such as accidents, physical agents such as radiations or chemical factors. Examples include toxic chemicals, poisons, and pollutants. So all these either physical or chemical factors, diseases due to these physical or chemical factors in the environment are called environmentally acquired non-communicable diseases, and they lead to several diseases such as cancer due to maybe heavy metals in the environment that are released from some industries into the nearby river, which contaminate fishes and so on. We can also have a case of cardiovascular disorders, which is the disruption of the circulatory system, leading to heart failure, hypertension, or hypotension, and so on. We can also have trauma or wound, which can be as a result of accident and other environmental hazards. So all these are in brief are the main categories of non-communicable diseases. I wish the student success in this particular course. Thank you for listening.